I'm proposing a new Copernican revolution among our fundamental terms. That it isn't matter or matter and energy that's the foundation of the universe that produces consciousness. It's the other way around. Consciousness is the foundation of the universe. Matter and energy come second. All matter, even the least little bit of matter, contains consciousness. It is in fact an expression of consciousness. All energy contains consciousness. That idea alone will change our civilization forever. And so I go on to spell out a new universe picture, a new science, a reinterpreted science based on it, a new way to see the earth as conscious beings throughout, in deep connectedness, a place for the feminine and for the native people and their ways of knowing and being, the mystics, the shamans, as there has never been before in Western history at least. A place for reincarnation and what reincarnation means for us. And now the fourth thing, spirit. This term consciousness that appears in modern science opens right into the term spirit, the fundamental term for every religion. And so for the first time, science and religion share a common base. Spirit. Spirit is simply infinite consciousness. The whole of creation, the whole earth, is formed out of this consciousness. A divine consciousness that's sacred throughout, sacred and divine throughout. The trees are not just conscious beings in physical expression, they're expressions of spirit. They're incarnations of spirit, in fact. These ancient trees around this house are incarnations of spirit, more perfect than we ever thought we could be at this point, because they are what they're supposed to be. Human beings are floundering all over the place these days trying to figure the story out. Incarnations of spirit. Okay, that means it means that the whole planet is an incarnation of spirit. We have put down the earth as, quote, mere matter, or just things, or commodities and resources for so long that this is a very necessary and almost impossible notion for most people to grasp. But when they walk out their back door, they're walking out among divine beings, beings that are just as spiritual as we are, more so at this point, because they're very pure incarnations of spirit. The whole of creation is really an incarnation of spirit. The native people had it right. The native view of spirit is surely the equivalent of the white man's mathematics. Everything has its own spirit and is also a part of spirit, the great spirit, the great mystery. That's the reality of the consciousness universe. This term consciousness, for reasons I lay out as I go along, step by step, leads us out of the illusions that we have lived in for so long. And we begin to wake up to the truth of who we are and what the earth is all around us and what the universe is. And love has a place in it. And the consciousness universe has a place for spirit, not just as infinite consciousness, but as love. Not an emotion, but really a great oneness. And you can walk out and let your boundaries go, and you're in this great oneness that the earth really is. Spirit, the love that spirit is a great oneness, and it's everywhere. All you need to do is let your boundaries go. God is not up in heaven. Spirit is everywhere, all around us, within us, a part of us. And as one native elder put it, why would I build a temple to my God when I can go out in nature and meet him face to face? Now, that simplicity is the grounds for the most unbelievable magic and mystery that one can imagine in the universe, because Western tradition has generally been devoted to looking heavenwards. The truth is that if spirit is up in heaven, spirit is also right here in us, in the ground under our feet. And creation is not one thing in which another thing, spirit, indwells. Creation is an expression of spirit. It is an incarnation of spirit. And I would say spirit is the fundamental term for the universe, even for modern science. It means completely different ways of looking at things and completely different questions. And spirit is the fundamental term. The universe of consciousness is described by one principle in a twofold way. The consciousness universe is pure consciousness. I would call it consciousness formless, or consciousness in form, i.e. physical expression. The deeper truth of the universe that this term consciousness opens to is that the universe is, the earth is spirit. It's spirit formless, spirit in form. And I've spoken a lot, again, about spirit in the talks that I will try to get up as soon as possible to say more about it. Okay, these are new ways to look at the earth. They're the sources of new questions and new answers. What about the earth? What about the planet? I have talked about the great news of these times, that it's the reappearance of the feminine and the love in history at the heart of human civilization. Now, I'm going to talk about the tough stuff. Human beings are in deep trouble with the planet. Everyone's attention is focused on the disintegrating economies, the collapsing financial markets, the slowdowns, the bank scams. What's really happening on the planet is that the Earth's ecosystems, millions of years in the making, are starting to collapse. The forests are going, the fisheries are going, the coral reefs are disintegrating. The Arctic, the oceans are at the tipping point. Now, I have given a talk last time. Also, we're having trouble getting it up on the site, but I hope to have it up soon, about what's really going on with the state of the earth. Human beings have had no understanding of the planet whatsoever. We have been 4.5 billion years, the earth has been 4.5 billion years evolving. Ecosystems are very complex, interdependent and interconnected webworks and networks of living beings. We have been tearing through these webworks and networks without the slightest concept of how long it took to make them or how dependent we are on them. It took the Earth 60 million years to create a rainforest. We are destroying it in 60. We have never gotten the Earth right, because the human being human beings have been asserting their superiority to every other living thing ever since they got here. And we have, with little help from religious tradition, we have always assumed the planet was made for us to do with what we like. And we are now in a position where if we go on the way we are, we can foresee our own extinction. It is as simple as that. The day of reckoning is here. We have, what human beings have done to the planet is so appalling that very few people can even face it. Many scientists estimate that we will cause an extinction of species as great as that went with the dinosaurs, when 97% of all life forms disappeared. Then it was due to an asteroid. Now it's because of an idiot. What we have been destroying the planet ever since we arrived here, to the point where now we are again at a unique point in our own history where we can see, the end is in sight for us. Now everybody knows with these great storms in the east and these droughts and famines and these greater and greater tsunamis that something is amiss with the weather and with the earth herself. I don't want to sketch it all out right now because I've done it already and I'll get that talk up for you. But it owes to human arrogance and human ignorance. We have brought ourselves to a point where there are really only two scenarios ahead of us. The most drastic scenario, wait a minute, what more do I want to tell you about where this is coming from? The most drastic scenario is that of James Lovelock. Lovelock is a man who coined the term the Gaia hypothesis. He's a very, very strong, very great scientist. He knows the earth better than anybody probably. Lovelock coined the term the Gaia hypothesis, that the whole earth is one living organism. Lovelock's prediction is the human race is on a pleasure boat drifting down the Niagara River with not the slightest idea that Niagara Falls is just ahead. That is how serious the state of the planet is at this point. And Lovelock's prediction is that in 2020, 2030, huge storms, typhoons everywhere. The desert of North Africa creeping into Europe. Population, water shrinking, wars, famines, disease everywhere, fights over water. And that the Earth's population, now at 7 billion people, will have shrunk by 2100 to 500 million people living around the poles. And Lovelock's claim is that it doesn't matter what we do now, it's too late. That we have set in motion irreversible processes, and global warming is increasing. We have set in motion irreversible processes, and there's no way to get around them. It's a pretty drastic scenario, and many of the things that, in fact, Lovelock predicted are happening even faster than Lovelock said they were. Now, what's almost unbelievable is the Earth is going down the tubes all around us. All of those disappearing species are vital links in our own food chains. We can't cut the rainforest and not at some point disrupt the whole climate. We're undermining our own life support systems to the point where they will be so ragged that we can't support ourselves on them anymore. What what's amazing is how little is being said about it. Politicians are not talking about it. It's the other greatest momentous event in human history, and nobody's facing up to it. There's another prophecy in the world about these times, and they are prophecies by the native people and many spiritual traditions, that these are the times of the reappearance of the feminine, that what really happened at solstice was that the feminine energy peaked its rate of coming in, and now it will flow in, and it will flow in until the year about 2300, when humanity will have reached its highest state of development. That's a very promising way of looking at things. And that's also very evident looking around. That's also going on along with the collapse of the planet. I would say, if there's any way that Lovelock scenario can be averted, it is by bringing in the feminine energy. Whether it's coming in or not, at this point we need to start bringing it in. And I'm going to talk more about what that energy is. Lovelock, and even Lovelock admits that, well, in the last analysis up to Mother, the goddess is powerful. What we don't know is just how powerful. But human beings have an enormous awakening to do. I have been talking about these are the times of the awakening. The awakening of, on every level, letting in the light, letting in the love, taking a good look at who we are, what we have been doing here. The day of reckoning is most often a day of wrath. I am hoping that it is in fact a day of awakening, and that it's a call to rethink ourselves at just about every level of our civilization, because the state of the earth at this point is the most drastic indictment of the whole of human civilization. Its central ideas, the ways we think about ourselves, what we think is important, our rather mindless way of spending hours before the TV while we devour the planet. It's just, human beings are at a point where they have to wake up. And I am hoping that this is a great moment of awakening and a momentous opportunity for every one of us to move into the love. I have said the love is uppermost. People in the fear mode will have a very hard time of it. It's always a call to choose the love. It doesn't matter, in a certain sense, what's coming down on us. It matters that we move into the love that will enable us to figure out what to do about it. My hope is that human beings have been in the dark for so long that we have only so recently become aware of what we're actually doing to the planet. That if we can know what we're really doing, we can change our ways. If politicians will quit lying about it and people stop pulling the wool over their eyes, if we can know the truth of things, we can make the changes. And that's my hope. And that if we can bring the love here, we can actually start helping the planet. We are a planet. Our whole civilization needs to be rethought at every level. Our whole civilization is based on the destruction of the earth. It actually requires that the GNP is a measure of how well we are degrading the planet. The state of the planet calls all of civilization into question. We are a civilization based on destroying the earth. What's happening in the modern world is that it is just simple destruction at this point. It's whole ecosystems are being destroyed, whole networks and webworks of living beings who share the planet with us. And of course, we are the most vulnerable of all because we're the top predator. Okay. The Earth's ecosystems are collapsing all around us. They're the basis of human civilization. And they're the basis of all of our economies and our financial systems. The system itself is going. And it has to. The systems, our systems are going. And they have to. The present system is corrupt. It does not work. It's corrupt. It does not honor life. And it does not respect the individual. And it does not respect the earth. Now, a system that does not respect the earth cannot last. And so, along with what's happening to the earth, it's an absolute demand. We have to rethink our systems. We have always imposed our solutions from the top down. We are the lords and masters of the planet. The planet shall do as we say. Well, we aren't, and she won't. And in these enormous storms, the earth is serving notice that she is in charge. The system has to be rebuilt along different lines. It has to be built on lines that honor and respect all life and the earth, the life of the earth. And I am saying that we have to convert ourselves from a civilization that destroys the planet into one that affirms and promotes the well-being of all living beings. That we have to convert ourselves from a death-centered world into a life-centered world. And I am saying the systems are going. They're based on the old conquer and subdue models of nature. And we have to rebuild along lines that accept and affirm, nurture and care for nature. And if we can pull it off, it will have a lot to do with rebuilding along feminine lines. We have to rebuild our systems on feminine principles.